Hello! Today we're going to talk about the Mexican civil law and the US common law system and their difference. Then we're going to talk about the difference between torts and criminal procedures. And at least I'm going to finish this video with one conclusion. Hope you like it. We're going to start talking about Mexico and USA law difference. Mexico's civil law system is derived primarily from Roman law as set forth in the compilation of codes and statutes of the Emperor Justinian called Corpus Juris Civilis, and later refined in the French or Napoleonic Code of 1904. While the U.S. common law system is based on the case law and statutory law of England and the American colonies before the American Revolution, the traditional common law system emphasizes case law, custom, and usage rather than the legislative enactments. Common law in the United States, published and collected judicial opinions are considered binding legal authority. In the Mexican civil law system, on the other hand, codified law is of primary importance. Code system. Codes begin with a code of legal rules, law, and statutes and applies them top-down to specific legal situation. That is formal. Mexican attorneys will look first to codes and also do research on doctrina or even jurisprudence in order to fully prepare for client representation on a particular matter. On the other hand, the case law in the US relies not only on laws and statutes but on a body of legal precedents built upon and interpreted by judges over time in more of a bottom-up manner, mainly historical. United States regulations still exist at the federal, state, and local levels. Published judicial opinions are not the sole source of authority in the United States. In fact, litigation often centers on codified law. Branches of government. Both are divided into three branches: executive, legislative, and judicial. Even though these branches are independent, they have a degree of influence in the activities of other branches. Both governments have a bicameral Congress consisting of a Senate and House of Representatives for the U.S. and a Chamber of Disputes in Mexico. In both governments, the Supreme Court is the highest court operating in the judicial system, and justices are appointed to be by the President upon Senate approval. Structure of the federal court system. The U.S. Constitution establishes the U.S. Supreme Court and gives Congress the authority to establish the lower federal courts. Congress has established two levels of federal courts below the Supreme Court: the U.S. District Courts and the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeal. U.S. District Courts are the courts of first instance in the federal system. There are 94 such district courts throughout the nation. On the other hand, in Mexico is the Supreme Court of Justice of Nation, Suprema Corte de Justicia de la Nación. Each Mexican state has the ability to create its own constitution and laws, given however that they do not go against federal laws. The Supreme Court of Mexico has 11 justices or ministers, and its function has full court or in chambers, and also the court sessions are public. Difference. In Mexico, a president can only serve for one term lasting 6 years, and on the other hand, the US can only serve for a maximum of 2 terms, each lasting for 4 years. In terms of administrative decisions, whereas Mexico has 31 states, yet the US consists of 50 states. Those were the main differences between the Mexico civil law system and the US common law system. Now, we're going to talk about the difference between tort law and criminal law. A tort is a wrongful act that injures or interferes with another person or property. A tort case is a civil court proceeding. The accused is the defendant and the victim is a plaintiff. The charges are brought by the plaintiff. If the defendant loses, the defendant has to pay damage to the plaintiff. Now, the crime can be defined as a wrongful act that the state or federal government has identified as a crime. A crime case is a criminal proceeding. The accused is also called a defendant. The charges are brought by the government, and if the defendant loses, the defendant must serve a sentence, and a fine is paid to the government, and there is possible restitution to the victim. Now that we define tort and crime, we're going to say some of the main differences. While a crime is a wrong against the whole society, a tort is a wrong only against an individual. Crime proceedings are held in criminal courts, and tort proceedings are held in civil courts. In crime, remedy is a form of punishment, and in tort, remedy is a form of damages. Rule of criminal procedure is applied, and also rule of civil procedure is applied. In crime, state prosecutes regardless of the wishes of a person who has been wronged, and in tort, emphasis is laid down on compensation. And last, in crime, compromising is only possible in compoundable offenses. To conclude, we can say that violation of any right is condemned in law in every case, whether it is civil or criminal. So law protects the legal rights of every citizen. So those were the main difference between torts and crimes. To conclude, I explained the difference between the Mexican civil law system and the US common law system, and also the difference between torts and criminal law. I think it's very important to know these concepts because Mexican and the US legal system have a very strong relationship. So it's important to know the difference and the similarities between them. And also, in the legal system course, I learned about the tort and criminal law proceedings, and it's important to know in case we are under that circumstance. Hope you like this video.